Velen, immediately after the attack upon the Exodar, had gathered his greatest artisans and smiths and cannibalized the unsalvageable Naru ship, calling in every resource and asset they had to construct a new vessel, the Vindicar. Velen, Illidan, and every Order leader of Azeroth, along with many others, boarded the Vindicar and set sail into the skies above towards Argus. On arrival, they sent out every signal they could to contact the Army of the Light, who promptly sent the Zenidar to rendezvous. Sadly, a Legion Antaean siege weapon got to the Zenidar first, sending it crashing into the shattered fields just north of them. Their forces were quick to charge to the defense, destroying the Antaean before he could fire again. With that immediate threat removed, Velen led a few leaders to the Korkrul hovel, where they found many broken who survived in hiding on Argus's cracked surface. This group had saved the crash survivors, including Turellian, in the flesh at last and directly connected to the light as one of the Lightforged. Turellian, Lothraxian, and the leaders fought towards the Zenidar's crashed form, being saved by Illyria Windrunner along the way, and rescuing many Lightforged Draenei near the crash site. These were veteran members of the Army of the Light, well used to fighting with little to nothing, and had already mounted a defense against the demons that assaulted the area. The Zenidar itself could probably be salvaged if given time, but time was a luxury they did not have, as strange red clouds began to slowly envelop Azeroth in the skies above. The Zenidar's main cannon, the Light's Judgment, was instead taken and repurposed for use on the Vindicar. At about this point, the Diamond Eye's Magni arrived, using his connection to Titan world souls to reach out and try to contact Argus. The Titan, not the planet, although the difference is somewhat murky. It is here that the leaders learned what we have known since the days of Lei Shen's fall. You see, Sargeras is a Titan, and Titans have a very patterned, orderly way of thinking, even when glutted on fel. Sargeras had destroyed his fellow Titans once before because they did not agree with his reasoning, but that just meant he had to force them to. And so, while adventurers had defeated Keepers in Ulduar, those Titan souls were snagged and caught by Sargeras, and when Lei Shen had died, Aman'Thul's was grabbed as well. And in all the time since, Sargeras had devoted his best corruptors, the Shivarra Coven, towards the task of torturing and converting these vulnerable Titan souls to his way of thinking. With them on his side, Sargeras would have an entire army of Dark Titans, no longer requiring the Legion or their demon ilk, and could safely purge reality unfettered. This is why Sargeras sought Azeroth so. He did not care for the planet or its people, only the Titan that lay slumbering within. Azeroth would be the final member of his dark pantheon, joining the others, along with Argus himself. The Azerothians' plans abruptly changed as they now had a direct goal: infiltrate Antorus and rescue the Titans before it was too late. To this end, Velen sought to reform the crown of the Triumvirate, and so they went back to one of the only chunks of Argus not completely doused in fel, Makari. Many memories lay in this place, of the Draenei's flight, Talgath's betrayal, and all those stories of old we started this long tale with. It was here too where it was discovered that, while Turellian was literally infused with light, Illyria was similarly suffused with void. She had learned much from an ethereal known as the Locust Walker, one of the rare ethereals who had turned against the idea of glutting on void, and instead sought to study and understand it as a dangerous tool, much like the Shadow Priests of the Conclave. Illyria and the Locust Walker, along with the leader compatriots, realized that several void-glutted ethereals were taking advantage of the chaos and distraction in an attempt to corrupt Argus with void, gifting the Void Lords their long-sought-after Void Titan. This coincided with the final piece of the crown being held nearby in the seat of the Triumvirate, so the group invaded with all haste. Their first obstacle was Zural the Ascended, a somewhat successful attempt at creating a void broken, which, while dangerous, was thankfully mostly mindless. Past this was the Void Ethereal's main commander, Saprish, who was directing most of their forces, all at the behest of Viceroy Nejar, a void-drunk madman who sought the same ends the Twilight did some years past. At the end was the dying Naru, Lu'ura. This is the very same Naru that stayed behind to allow the Draenei time to escape all those long years ago, locked away to slowly rot as punishment for her defiance. Lu'ura was all but gone at this point, her void essence calling to the souls without. But Illyria focused all of her training and absorbed the Naru directly as it died, becoming the world's first void elf. The implications of this will have to wait. The group quickly took the final piece of the crown and sprinted back to the Vindicar with it, installing and empowering the ship with holy light. This then was the perfect time to reassemble Zira. Khadgar offered the Light's heart, no longer containing Illidan's soul, and with it Zira returned to the realm of the living. Zira, if you've been paying attention, has an unusual name for a Naru, and this is because she is a prime Naru, possibly the only prime Naru, and as such, guided and directed the whole of the Army of the Light. It was she who personally forged those within of Light, branding Turelion and the many Draenei that populated it, and the first thing she wanted to do was Lightforge Illidan. We haven't really discussed Illidan yet. Now seems a good a time as any. Illidan and Malfurion Stormrage were both born in the lush groves of Val'sharah, but Illidan was born unusual. His eyes had a golden glow to them, leading to a great prophecy that he was a chosen one of the light. As time passed, both brothers studied under Cenarius, seeking to become some of the earliest of the druids. But druidic magic didn't sing to Illidan the way arcane did. Cenarius rejected him, telling the young night elf he did not understand the sacrifice necessary to walk his path. Many years later, Illidan was a captain of the Moon Guard under the legendary Kurtalos Ravencrest, fighting in defense of Blackrook Hold against the first invasion of the Burning Legion. This is where we see Illidan for who he really is, for good and for ill. Illidan sought the power necessary to destroy the demons, their devices, and their portals, and so he drained his loyal soldiers of their life essence, empowering his magics above and beyond what he could otherwise accomplish. With the singularity of the One, Illidan was able to best the Legion that day, stop their advance, and claim victory. Ravencrest was disgusted by his actions, and his own troops refused to follow him any longer. Illidan was not wrong. He spent the lives of his soldiers in defense of the Hold, did so correctly, carefully, not with negligence or waste, and was successful in the doing. But he was also not right. Had he won this battle via traditional means, the deaths of so many of his own wouldn't even be acknowledged. But Illidan did not give them a choice to spend their lives in service of Azeroth, but rather presumed their deaths. Also, Illidan could singularly save his people. This is Illidan at his most core, and it is this Illidan which was granted the terrible truth of the Legion. For all his faults, Illidan now understood the true scope and scale of the problem the Legion posed, and unlike most others before and after him, he sought a permanent solution to the Legion threat. This, then, explains everything Illidan has done since the War of the Ancients, from becoming the first demon hunter, to restoring the Well of Eternity, claiming the Skull of Gul'dan to stop the Legion's advance during the Third War, his journey to and conquest of Outland, his raid upon Mardum, and finally, his forcing this final confrontation between Azeroth and Argus. Zira sought to erase all of this, to forge Illidan into her perfect avatar, her chosen one. Illidan was all for cooperation when it suited him, but this left him hesitant. Zira would not be denied, binding her prize in bands of pure light, offering redemption, destiny, a new life. Illidan would have none of it. His life, his destiny, and his scars were his own. Unleashing his full might upon the unsuspecting Zira, the Prime Naru was obliterated, shattered such that she would not even leave a void remnant in her place. The Light's bindings on Turelion faded, and in a rage he sought to attack Illidan, but Illidan was having none of that either. No Zira, no great destiny, no chosen one. It was time for them to decide their own fate. The forces of Azeroth swept into the Antoran wastes, and, claiming position, the Light's judgment fired, blasting a crack in the outer walls of the Legion's central fortress. Thus did the Army of Light charge into the burning throne of Antorus, the end of all things. The outermost forces faced the latest model of the Garothi Reavers, a world breaker, constructed with the firepower necessary to assault entire cities by itself. While the leaders brought down the construct, Illyria took a division and charged north, forcing the Legion to divvy up their defense. This left the path west relatively unguarded, save for the Fellhounds, Sargeras' latest favored pets. It was time for decisive strikes. Their first real task was to rescue the Titan soul Sargeras had not yet claimed, Aenar, Freya's matron mother. Aenar had stayed on the distant world of Elunaria in the years since the Northrend campaign, discovered only recently by Legion forces. The leaders successfully blunted this attack and quickly returned to the front. Next, the source of the Legion coordination, Antoran High Command. This consisted of the greatest tactical minds of the Eridar, once tasked with defending Argus, now directing the Legion's countless armies across the Great Dark. And last, Portal Keeper Hazabal, who runs the central nexus for all Legion teleportation, transporting soldiers to and from whatever battlefield she was directed. No leadership, no coordination. It was time to hit the hallowed Fellworks, defended by the deadly bounty hunter Iminar the Soul Hunter. Within was the source of genius for so many of the Legion's most terrifying weapons and constructs. Kingaroth, for whom all the Garothi are named. An ancient Antean, he is ever in pursuit of even greater heights of destructive power. With him dead, the Fellworks were shut down and demolished. It was time to hit the burning throne itself. Blasting past the Dark Keeper that defended the entrance, the group was surprised to find Veramathras suffering under Shivarra torment. The defiant Notherzim was more than willing to vent his frustrations on the leaders who had bested him more than once in the past, spitting threats of the maw that awaited them before finally falling into darkness. The leaders were quick to descend upon the Coven, mistresses of night, gloom, flame, and cosmos. They were the most venerated of all surviving demons in the whole of the Legion, the only group Sargeras entrusted to remain present in his most hallowed halls. Their fall meant the release of the Titan souls in their keeping, and Magni stayed behind to help commune with and soothe the weary Titans, while the leaders, Velen and Illidan, pressed onwards, into the avatar of the Titan Agrimar. This is the same Titan who had helped Draenor ages ago by forging Grond, who had fallen to his friend and ally in a futile attempt to convince him of the futility of his task. Now turned, the first convert of the Dark Pantheon stood before the leaders. This is the first time since their fight with Lei Shen that the leaders had faced a foe of this magnitude and power. But they were stronger now, and further augmented by artifact might. Agrimar's corrupted avatar was destroyed, freeing the Titan soul within to rejoin his brethren. The Titans unified their weary energies and focused on separating Argus from Sargeras' devices, summoning his soul to the seat of the Pantheon. But Sargeras was having none of it. While not fully formed, the nascent world soul was commanded to manifest, and so the leaders of Azeroth faced the Death Titan, Argus the Unmaker. They did not fight alone. Illidan, Velen, Magni, and the very Titans themselves assisted and empowered their struggle. It should be mentioned, this is no avatar. While not fully formed, this is a Titan at its most concentrated and pure. No fight, no battle, no contest they had ever besought spoke even a whisper to this roar. Death did come to the leaders, but with Titan blessing it was not the end, and the dead and the living both fought with all they had. In the end, Argus was unmade. The Pantheon reached out to grasp Sargeras, attempting to manifest over the prize he had long sought, and pulled him back to his eternal fate. Imprisonment with the other Titans for all time, with Illidan as his jailer forevermore. With Sargeras' defeat, the final piece of the Burning Legion was gone. The demons would remain, of course, but as an organization, the Legion now joined the long list of players the leaders of Azeroth had removed from the board. Velen, staring at the receding sky, let out a soft, quiet sigh. It was over. Truly, finally, utterly, and forever. No more delays, no more near victories, no more retreats. True victory had been claimed, and the Burning Crusade was done. It is here we will leave the world of LoreCraft, in the wake of the greatest triumph their people had ever known. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you have enjoyed. For Azeroth.